Hello and welcome. We're on the last leg of today's show, but not without us speaking to a man who knows his own when it comes to something that is beautiful for the soul, spirit, and body. He is Kunle Meshida, and he's about to speak to us about music and his own sound in particular. You're most welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Something very interesting I actually just found out is that you're a self-taught musician, learned how to play a lot of instruments by yourself.
Yeah, primarily the piano or keyboard.
How long did that take?
Well, gradual process. Okay, here's the background. Primary 5 or 6, I had this music teacher in school, so he taught me some piano lessons. But back then it wasn't really cool. You wanted to play with your friends and all that, so I forgot about that for the next 16, 17 years, and then a church over in Atlanta wanted me to, they kind of heard that I used to have music lessons, and then they said, "Oh yeah, our keyboardist just left, so you can take over." I'm like, so I started to play and started to figure it out. So what I'd listen to songs and try to replicate the chords. So I would say maybe it took me another 5 years to at least be able to,
to get back into
to do this decently.
Okay.
Because what I was doing back then in primary school was very different. They gave you a piece of music and small woods, you play a few tunes here and there. So it's a different ballgame, but I would say like 5, 6 years to be able to, play decently.
Brilliant. Now let's go back to that time when we were younger. I'm assuming you grew up in Nigeria?
Yes, I did.
All right, you grew up in Nigeria. At that time, nowadays we see many parents encourage their children to do extracurricular activities, to pay for piano lessons, pay for ballet dancing, which we didn't see at that time.
Yes.
What inspired your parents to make you go into music? Did they see something about you that was musical? Did you play with drums, tables and chairs at home that made them think they need to take you to school?
Not really. My dad is a great musician. He's actually a geologist by profession.
Okay.
But what he told me when he was in Christ school, I think that would be whatever comes after secondary school.
Okay.
A levels.
Yeah, A levels.
He learned to play the violin. They taught him and everything. So he took it to a higher level. He did a lot of classical music with people like Richard Buckner, Lars Kwame, and all that. So they did a lot of classical music. So growing up, I was exposed to that. He wanted me to play. I didn't really want to play. So he paid for the lessons. And so, I did it because they paid for it. And, once I was able to go to secondary school, teacher left, I'm like, thank God. So I started with it, So I guess the seed had been sown. And I think I had the gift. So, and that's why I was able to teach myself to play again. And then I started to sing because the lead singer in church left. And so I just kind of said, let me try. And people seem to like it. And here we are.
What was the initial plan for you? Because as it seems, music was not the initial plan.
No.
So what was the initial plan?
My plan, going to the U.S., I studied geology in Ife. And then going to the U.S., my plan was to get an MBA, which I did, and go into corporate America. So I got an MBA, did IT. I did IT for about 7 years. I was a database analyst. And the music kind of grew side by side with me working IT. And at some point, the stress was too much. So I had to make a choice, music or IT. And I chose music.
Why?
Because
I'm asking this because there are many people who are in paid employment and are thinking to themselves, I need to follow my passion. How did you know that music was the right choice you were making?
No, it was a gamble. Because at that time, I had a good job. I was happy. I loved database. I loved coding. But doing both together, seriously, I started traveling a lot. I did that for about 18 months. Now, one thing I noticed was I was always tired because, Monday through Friday, I go to work. Sometimes I'd go to the airport from work on Friday and then come back on Monday and go straight to work. But the only times I was happy and didn't feel tired was when I was on stage. So I realized there was some kind of passion in it. And I figured let me try this out. I mean, I'm happy doing this thing. And apparently they can lay you off at a job. But, you know, I just decided to take that risk. I mean, I at that time and now, I have a wife, I have 3 kids, a mortgage and all that stuff. So it was not something that was easy for me to arrive at. But I gave it a shot. And for the first few months, I mean, of course, I saved some money just in case things didn't go
work
well.
out.
But after the first year, my financial situation was a lot better than it was when I was working. And I'm like, okay, I think I made the right choice. So now it's been 9 years, and I don't regret that choice.
I'm really glad you told us that particular story. Like Olive mentioned, you chose, there's some people out there who are battling between money and passion.
Yeah.
And one thing we'll always hear many times that your passion will always turn to profit at the end of the day, or turning your passion to profit, particularly when you're diligent at what you do. And that's something that, from your profile, you're very particular about: diligence, excellence.
Yeah.
You know, I was reading about you, and you talk about the fact that you saw the way that music was being played and you didn't like the sound of it. Now, while some people are okay with just let us, you know, bring something out, you are more purposeful about using quality equipment, producing quality sound. Did that cost you, or was that what was that journey like, and how has that helped you today?
First of all, I'm going to say that's one of the biggest sources of frustration for me. I think from my background of being an analyst and a coder, you have to pay attention to the details. And I also believe you have to be on time. So going through that, I get into a place where I see that a lot of people, and culturally, I think we have an issue with that, like in Africa. We're like, yeah, let's just do it. I mean, it's okay. We'll just manage it. So getting into that, I decided that was something I was not going to be a part of. So did it cost me? Yes, it did cost me a lot. Matter of fact, the last keyboard I bought, which is a Yamaha Montage, up till today, my wife doesn't know exactly how much I paid for that keyboard. She thinks it's cheaper because there's some, you know, figures you can't really mention, you know, that kind of thing. So it cost me. And I'm still in a position where I hope that a lot of people will come along in that journey, because from what I see, sometimes the sound is not good. I want to do a sound check. A lot of people don't think it's necessary.
Yes.
You know, so things like that cost you mentally as well, because there are times I question that, is this what I want to do? But over time, I keep getting that nudge that, keep on.
I like that you mentioned that. There are times when you question yourself and you ask yourself, is this what you want to do?
Yeah.
And it's not just peculiar to you. Many other people out there as well who are watching, you're probably in a job and you're thinking, is this right? Am I on the right path? Am I on the right track? Am I good at what I do? Now, you've been in this music business for 9 years. You left a well-paying job to pursue your passion. What would you say are some of the key lessons that you have learned that have kept you going these 9 years?
In the first instance, when you move from having a job to something like this, your lifestyle has to change. In terms of the finances, I figured I had to reduce my overhead. You don't want to get into this kind of music and go around buying a G-Wagon, you know, and make car payments on it. So first of all, you want to buy something you can really afford, because you don't know how it's going to turn out. You want to buy a home, buy something you can afford. To me, I figured I'd avoid things where I had to make payments over 6 years or something like that, because you don't know what's going to happen in 6 years. So I made those lifestyle changes. And I mean, there's a way you spend money when you know a paycheck is coming at the end of the month. And there's a way you conserve your money if you have a windfall, but you're not sure if you're going to have a windfall next week. So things like that, I think you should. And then the other thing is, one other thing that bothers me about a lot of people is communication. So you get an email and you don't respond. Well, one thing I found out in this industry, if somebody calls you to do something, if you don't respond, by the time you call back 3 days later, somebody already has been contracted to do what, you know. So for me, I would say you should communicate, be good with communication. There's a lot of people that are not good with communication. If my phone rings, I always pick it up. Unless, you know, I absolutely can't pick it up, but I'll get back to them. I guess I need a manager. But,
all right, so communication and also cutting your coat according to your size. Now,
according to your cloth.
According to your cloth. Sorry, no longer size. It's not about size.
No size.
Cloth. All right, now I know people are anxious to hear what your offering is and what your song, your music sounds like. And we'll be playing one of Kunle Meshida's songs called Unfailing for you. When we come back, we'll have the opportunity just for a few minutes to talk about the song from his perspective, and then we'll be wrapping up the show. Here is Unfailing by Kunle Meshida. Beautiful.
I totally can't connect to this because I'm a rock fan. Yes. I'm a rock junkie. So anyone who knows me knows I definitely love any good music that is rock. So thank you. That is really beautiful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
So, I mean, before we started, we showed that video, I was going to ask your genre of music, but I know that rock is one of them.
Yes, rock is one of them.
Okay.
So, versatility is one of the things that, so I love doing ballads. I really like soft rock. However, along the line, I figured I'm pretty good in what they call it high praise. So, like African praise.
Yeah.
Now, that's actually what I'm more known for. Although this rock stuff is really my strength, like worship ballad type of thing. Now, what I do with the high praise, I infuse rock into it. So I like doing high praise with like guitars and, like rock type progressions. So it's right behind there. The percussion is African, but the progressions are sound like rock. So, I guess I would say I'm versatile. As long as it's gospel, it's worship, it's praise, then that's what does it for me. It's more the lyrics, and I guess the style has some similarity.
Brilliant. I actually wish we had a video to show that, the high praise fusion with the rock.
Yes.
That would have really been nice to see. So what is the future for Kunle Meshida? Do you plan to, we know you're not based in Nigeria at the moment. Do you plan to move back home and do music here? What's the future? Delving into other areas of music, collaborations with other artists?
Yes, I actually do. I've done some collaborations, and I'm doing some collaborations. I did a collaboration with Jumbo. He's also a psalmist over there in the States. And I have a couple of collaborations there. Now, the short answer to moving back, as far as I know, the answer is no. Now, as far as shuttling back and forth, for me, that's the plan. Obviously, because of my life over there in the States. But, I think there's Nigeria musically in gospel music, it's kind of, from the African angle, is kind of a little bit advanced, but there's still some work to be done. And I guess I want to be part of that work to be done also. But, I actually like it here.
Oh, great. I mean, we'd love to. I mean, the music industry is expanding, particularly the gospel scene as well. We've seen more, stars come up. We've seen more artists, more musicians, more, ministers come up, and it's growing, and we're looking forward to having even more. Now, if you wanted to follow you on social media, follow your music, download, watch, Failing. You have a new project with Jumbo, and also the Thank You song as well.
Thank You, Baba, yes.
Thank You, Baba.
Yes.
How can people download or get your music?
Well, my music, a lot of my music is on iTunes.
Okay.
My music is on CD Baby.
Okay.
And people can follow me on Instagram, kmesh620, and on Facebook, Kunle Meshida. Just my name.
All right, so simple. Very simple. Thank
Straightforward.
you so much for coming on the show this afternoon. And, we look forward to having you back again and again in Nigeria. And like Olive mentioned, I'm actually looking forward to listening to the African praise, high praise, with some rock infusion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is unfortunate. This is where we had to call it a day on the show this afternoon. But a big, big thank you to all our guests for today, Kunle Meshida and, of course, Dr. Tiwalola Oshufison. Thank you so much indeed for coming.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.